After that, we talked about the process. Everybody say process. To actually solving problems. And so last week, what did we do? We talked about the 4 different steps. I'm about to lean on y'all for a little bit. The 4 different steps to solving a problem. The first step was define. Everybody say define. We had to define the problem. Now, here's something specific. I was doing my studies before Professor Mbaga came through, before Charisma came through, and I was thinking about what we talked about last week. And if y'all remember, what I said was the definition of way in which you solve problems was talking about this idea of lack. But you see here, I've now put that next to determine. Because upon reflecting, right, you wasn't tripping. Because but you was locked in. But upon reflecting, I understood that, you know what? The question of who is the problem, what is the problem, and where is the problem isn't about determining the cause. It's about defining it. When you know who the problem is, when you know what the problem is, and then the location of that problem, we can define that problem with much greater intention. So again, the first step to solving a problem is still defined. We got to define the problem. How do we define it? Who is it? What is it? And where is it coming from? Does that first piece make sense? Mm-hmm. The second piece, everybody say determine. Then we got to determine the cause to the problem. All right, when we determine the cause to the problem, we got to understand this. Problems exist in spaces that lack. Everybody say lack. You want to know what's causing a problem? Figure out why it's lacking. And I said, when you can identify where a place is lacking, solutions to that are easy. Does anybody remember what the acronym for easy was? Okay, we got a few. We can go one letter at a time. I got one in the back. Remember what any of them were? So effectiveness was the first one. So hold on. So effectiveness. When you can identify places and spaces or people that are lacking in effectiveness, you're going to be able to determine the cause of the problem that we defined. That was great. Who had the A? Access. When you define places and space that lack access, you can determine the cause of a problem that we already defined. What was the S? Supply. When you define places and space that lack supply, we're getting to the heart of the cause of the problem. What was the why? Yes. So hold on. It's a lot of people saying a lot of things right now. So you said the why? Your purpose. Can you connect the dots on what's the relationship between purpose and the why? Why were you able to say in your head that why and purpose go together? Because your why is your purpose. Come on now. And do you, and if not, like I said, I didn't spend too much time on, do you remember what those 3 components to your purpose were? What's the why? Who you are, what you do, what you do. Come on now. And this was a quote. Who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going defines your purpose. That collectively creates your why. The only question is how, because the when is right now. If you're ever confused or forget what purpose means, that's the quote. Who you are, what you do, where you're going, collectively create your why. That's your purpose. The only question is how, because the when is right now, which leads us to IPS. IPS. The third step to solving a problem is IPS. Does anybody remember? I know you did, because I was waiting to hear you say it, because we talked about this 2 days after we had it. Do you remember what they were?
Implement, prioritize, and select.
Stop playing. Can you say it again for the people in the back?
Implement, prioritize, and select.
That's a freaking fact. So after we've defined the problem and determined the problem, we have to identify, prioritize, and select some alternative solutions. And so we said the quote coming out from that, because you're going to forget them what IPS was. I know you're going to forget because I forgot. That's why I'm going to lean this here. If you don't know, we were talking about this, ask. I'm dealing with a situation right now being a professor. I've never been a professor before. It's awesome, but I don't know all of what I'm doing. One of the things I didn't know was that people here love to meet. They love to be booked and busy doing things meetings don't require. And here was the thing. I had to ask my guy, Professor Mbaga. Can we give a hand clap for my brother real quick? And for Kingston, his son. But in all seriousness, I had to ask him. I was like, bro, they like to do a lot of meetings here. And I don't have time for that. Now, what I don't want to do is waste this incredible opportunity with this platform I've been given. But how do I navigate this situation? If you don't know the solution, ask. And he provided it. Now, let's say we got to a situation but we were both operating in unprecedented territory, uncharted territory, which happens when you black folks in predominantly white spaces. That goes back to last month's conversation about the black tax. If you don't know, ask. And if nobody knows, act. If you don't know, ask. I can ask my brother. But if neither one of us know, make it make sense. And that brings us to the last piece. The fourth step is implement. Everybody say implement. Implement. And here was the piece about implementation. I talked about just the art of reverse engineering. My dad's a civil engineer. One of my best friends is a mechanical engineer. I'm a reverse engineer because I don't do neither one of them things. And what I said for the quote for implementation was, and I know y'all can't read it, that's why I'm gonna read it to you. Reverse engineer the answer to your problems so that you can become the architect to somebody else's solution. If you're looking to finish that process of solving problems, and then we're going to dive into today's conversation, and I'm extremely excited for that because I got something to say about this weekend too. I definitely got something to say about this weekend, and it is in line with exactly what you said. And I already know that Marquise G is going to come with that fire after I'm done, so I got to get out of her way. But again, when we talk about implementation, the last step in solving a problem, reverse engineer the answer to your own problems so that you can become the architect for somebody else's solution. We spent the entire last month talking about the art of providing value. When I can become the architect for somebody else's solution, you know what I'm doing, Shay? Sister, I'm providing value. I'm providing value. And it can't be a coincidence that what we're ending this process of problem solving with is the very thing we spent the entire last month doing.